time for a wonderful walk-on. Now it's time for today's treat, another clip from the forthcoming series of Downton Abbey, which seems to confirm all those wedding rumours.
Hello.
Hello.
What are you doing here?
I'm meeting a train, but I'm too early.
Oh.
I mustn't hold you off.
No, I'm not doing anything.
Oh.
I thought I'd get away from wedding panic.
Don't you like weddings?
Oh, don't be silly. Of course I do. Only I've talked of clothes and flowers and food and guests until I'm blue in the face.
Yes, weddings can be reminders of one's loneliness, can't they? Sorry, I don't know why I said that. So, how's it going? Is your grandmother coming over from New York for it?
She is.
And Sybil, is she here yet?
As a matter of fact, she wasn't coming, but I think she is now. Mary had a letter this morning. Papa doesn't know yet.
He will be pleased.
I do hope so.
Tantalising. Well, wedding or no, flowers have always been powerful indicators of class and taste. And here to tell us more about the world of Downton Floristry, please welcome florist of the stars and the nobility and gentry, Simon Lycett.
Good boy.
We're looking here at a changing era, aren't we? Because although it began in Edwardian times, there was still very much the hangover in Downton of the Victorian period, wasn't there?
I think it takes a while for fashion then, as it does now, to simmer down, and there was still lots of vivid, bright colour, that sort of lovely overblown Victorianness.
But surely they were rather more spectacular than this humble but beautiful bunch.
They were, but I'm
joggers.
envisaging perhaps Mr. Carson might have this sat upon his desk in his butler's pantry. So it's a little sort of humble offering of things snipped from the garden.
Well, I mean, he would have had that. My granddad grew that on his allotment, scabious, beautiful. Loving a mist there,
gorgeous,
these wonderful seed
lovely
pods.
nigella.
A good country bunch, and a Strantia, which is one of my favourite garden flowers, this one.
And known as Hattie's pincushion, the lovely popular name. Brilliant.
Lovely thing. Phlox and Montbretia. So that would have been cast, but come on, take us upstairs. What would they have had?
Upstairs in the drawing room, I think we'd have been graced with this sort of melange of every colour and then add some. It's that whole vibrant mix. It was like their overstuffed drawing rooms. Their flower arrangements were also overstuffed.
So it's bung everything in, really, wasn't it?
Yes. I mean, for someone who likes a full look, as a florist, please let me have a job in the Victorian era. It would have been spectacular.
That's your favourite time?
Definitely,
Well, because
yes.
there were no rules, you just put everything in?
There were no rules, put everything in, and when you look at any engraving and photograph, wherever Queen Victoria went, they garlanded for miles, everywhere. So it would have been great for business.
Well, this time of year, because September and on into October, if we don't get too many frosts, the dahlias are
Aren't they
the
just
seasonal flowers par excellence.
Yes, and these are all British. They are just spectacular, aren't they? Heaven.
So if you want to create a Victorian arrangement, make it big, make it bold and make it full.
And make it full with masses of colour, yes.
But then, we're changing slightly, aren't we? If we do get to the Edwardian period, which is only 10 years long.
Yes.
And then onwards and into the 20s, I suppose.
Edwardians were much more about enjoying the plants, showing off their skill with the plants. So it was what were you growing in your hothouse that you could then show to all your friends and all your guests. So this would be a lovely collation of mixed orchids.
Whereas, of course, all the Victorian era was very much a plant collecting time, so we were getting masses. More flowers and plants were coming to Britain in quantity than ever before.
And so it was an ideal chance to show off what you, as the most rich person in the neighbourhood, had got in your greenhouse.
And had probably funded. You probably paid the plant collector to bring you your share
Yes.
back. Beautiful, these little botanicals, little oncidiums here. And delicate orchids.
And often the hothouse surplus was then sent to Covent Garden Market and sold in the flower market. So what was produced on little estates was then sent up to London, and that's something we really miss these days.
Downton will be edging into the 20s now, we're told.
Yes.
So presumably there's another big sea change if you're going to get things like this.
I know, it's that sort of the elegance, the sort of after the Great War, it was almost enjoying white flowers, subtle, soft flowers, as if they were almost a floral tribute to that terrible time that had happened.
Well, this interior designer too, didn't we, called Siri Morm, who did the first sort of white room. Everything was white, furniture, walls, back in the 20s. And these wonderful, these tall vases are amazing.
And very restrained, almost in the same way as they had that sort of flapper dress, and everything was pared down and simple, and almost more enjoying the style and the cut. In the same way, we're really enjoying the shape and form of the flower.
You've got longiflorum lilies in here, which are a wonderful scent, and arum lilies in that.
Yes.
Are these very much flowers of the period as well?
Very much flowers of the period, with, of course, the dreaded asparagus fern.
Do you remember when you always had a bit of this behind your carnation in your buttonhole? You know?
And
it went everywhere.
Every suit had a few green bits that were stuck in forever. Yes, exactly. And it's lethally sharp as a florist. It's a horrible thing to work with.
Thorns down down it too.
We used to have garlands of sprengeri as well,
Yes.
that they used to use lots. All of that, again, grown in hothouses. Again, a chance to show off their skill.
What's special about these vases, the tall, slender vases?
Well, Ellen Terry stands were invented. I think, as a florist these days, I'm so clever inventing all these huge, wonderful table arrangements that tower above diners. But it was something that happened in the late Victorian period right through into the 20s, the Ellen Terry stand.
Ellen Terry was a great actress. What on earth is a vase? What's to do with her?
Well, I think in the same way as the Peach Melba was named after Dame Nellie, I think it's like one day we might have the Alan Titchmarsh vase. You know,
Don't
it's
hold your
naming
breath.
things for the famous.
It'll be short and squat and rather swollen in the middle.
But oh so useful.
Yeah, quite useful for all occasions. So they're beautiful, they're statuesque, and the great thing about on a dinner table, you can actually see the
Yes,
guests.
lovely clear sight lines, but good and stable as well. And you
Yeah.
can do a few flowers or a lot of flowers in them.
Another feature of the Alan Titchmarsh vase, a good weighty bottom. Yeah, actually, this is more my bag, you know, sweet peas,
Heaven.
and lily of the valley.
And I like to think that perhaps on the lady of the house's breakfast tray or desk, they might have done something in her morning room, something as simple and clean as that.
But you see, you take a few bunches, stems of lily of the valley, and instead of just plonking them in a little vase of water, you put them in a clear glass, which has got a little pattern. You fill it with moss and the water. That's what makes you a brilliant florist, you see. It's that final finishing touch. It looks so much nicer, doesn't it, with the moss in there, and it's a whole little thing in itself.
Well, you're very kind, but I always feel that bit of moss adds a fiver.
He's an honest man. He's got the very last of the sweet peas, I
Yes,
suppose.
these are almost the last of the English sweet peas. And I like this sort of horn beaker that might perhaps be on his lordship's desk, with a little simplicity of some lovely English sweet peas.
I tell you what, I'm going to go home with a very lordly taste in flowers now, aren't you? And say to the other half, I'm terribly sorry, this little bunch in a jug, that's for Mr. Carson's butler's pantry. I want something grander.
In my Titchmarsh vase.
Titchmarsh vase.
With its broad bottom.
I know. It's rather bulging middle. Never mind. My thanks to Samuel Isaac. We come this Friday afternoon with the new series of Downton just round the corner. We're joined by Jim Carter, also known as Carson the Butler. Ed Kimber, winner of the first Great British Bake Off, guides us through Edwardian bakery and how to plant your garden borders like a professional with a very clever trick to show you how. All that and got one with his clothes on. See you in a couple of minutes.